Yeah, you know what it is. World Combat Sports on deck. It's Tuesday. Hello to everyone, fight fans, supporters, all of the above. Salute to you. I just wanted to get on here and talk about the Carissa Shields and Ivana Habazin fight week that's coming up. You know, it's kind of a historic fight. Even though it's the women's division, it's pretty much a historic fight, in my opinion, because it deals with the double gold standard Carissa Shields out of Flint, Michigan, and Croatia fighter Ivana Habashin. And a lot of people, of course, I'm gonna talk about it. Just kind of commence the reflection on this particular matchup. This is like the third time. Third time's a charm, I guess, with Shields and Habashin being in light of what happened last time that made headlines, that was all over the boxing news, burning up and boiling over the media waves about, Habashin coach being punched by, now that we know it was Shields' brother, who is still locked up from my understanding. So, it was a lot of media outlets and segues catching a lot of heat that's up here trying to say, that particular person didn't punch her, this, that, and the other, all the damn scuttlebutt and rumors. But as time resumed and played out, the individual was taken in. You know what I'm saying? And it was tough. It was tough in a sense that it was a lot of trash talking going on back and forth between Habashin camp and Shields camp. Unfortunately, it wasn't a strong enough mediator there to keep it calm waters. You know what I'm saying? Just to keep them at ease with one another, so no punches to be thrown. But I guess, her coach was just doing too much and speaking to the other female, and it boiled over, because when you go into these fight pressers, you're dealing with individuals who actually know how to fight in most cases. Most of the women and men who's rolling in these camps, I mean, they in the boxing ring. They may not be world champions. They might not be national. They might not be Olympians. None of that. Pan Ams. None of that. But when it comes down to them actually know how to throw hands to the basic, back and forth, handle yourself, square up. Yeah, that's mostly the case. And in this case, you have a male on a female type, and you know how that goes. It's a lot of females that act bad all the time. They have all this energy towards a male, for whatever reason it may be. And especially talking to a male that's a boxing trainer. And things went left to the point where I guess another family member had to step in and resolve the issue. And unfortunately, it was done, from the blind side. Now, I know a lot of people, of course, Shields don't want to really make light of it, but God damn it, we media. The whole entire story attaches itself leading up to this point. It has nothing to do. I mean, it's been out there in the media, so it's public record now. So don't be jumping on here in this super chat talking that BS to me as if it's not out here in the public record. It's out here already. It happened. It boiled over. The media had a field day with it. I mean, all the photos was out there with him bleeding. I also have to say this, though. He was talking mad trash. He was talking a lot of trash talking to Shields camp. And it was a verbal sparring going back and forth. But when you like that particular match and it becomes personal, you kind of want to keep your vigilance on the ready. And, in the fight game, he might have felt like, okay, this is just a fight presser, a boxing presser. It ain't nothing to really be concerned about, until he was freaking knocked out from behind. I mean, that happens all the time. If you look at it, it happens all the time. When someone may have reservations about facing you to the front, they do it from the back. It happens all the time, man. Call it what you may, but that shit happens all the time. Anyway, they have a fight coming up. And what's historic about this for the female side of the house and boxing in general is you have a 20-3 Habazin going in there. And like I said before, this is the third time that they would schedule a fight, and it looks like it should take place. You know what I'm saying? It'll take place this week. All right. But the main topic of discussion is Claressa Shields, double gold standard. She's about to go in here in her 10th fight and potentially become a 3-division world champion quicker than any man or woman has ever accomplished in their boxing tenure. I mean, that's big. You can say what you want about, the competition in the women's division vice the male division. And you can make that statement. We can debate about that all day long. But the only person that comes close to even doing something to that nature is Vasily Lomachenko, right? Everybody's talking about that. Everybody's just talking about Vasily Lomachenko. What happens when you have two gold standards, male or female, two gold standards, but one to do it here in the U.S., the only one, the way Claressa Shields did it in the Olympics, right? And to come over here and potentially about to be a 3-division champion within less fights of Lomachenko, doing it in 10 with only 2 knockouts. You have to salute and you take your hat off to the accomplishment at only 24 years old. It's a big deal, y'all. It's a big deal. Even though, she rubs people the wrong way. Who doesn't? Boxers rub people the wrong way all the damn time. And a lot of people don't get why I say what I say. Like, boxers really don't owe media anything. I know media feel that they conduct the interview, but some cats like myself, if I get the interview, I do. If I get the report and respect, I do. But what changes the game is the disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Because fighters are the one splitting the ropes. They going in there and they banging it out, right? So when a fighter really don't want to close distance when it comes to fighting the media and getting the word out there and getting the story out there, then it becomes different. People are touchy these days. Social media is always accessible to anyone and everyone who's out here that want to press that button to see what you're talking about. Either they're going to love you or hate you. They're going to see you in person. They're going to support you, co-sign. It is what it is. That's why I give a shout out to Josh Greer Jr. for freaking giving a shout out, the first to give a shout out to World Combat Sports without me even asking him to. I was supporting Joshua Greer Jr. before he signed with Top Rank. I have mad respect for the dude out of Chicago. OG, doing what he got to do, going in there, like he say, continue to cash checks like Nike. I mean, good person in and out of the ring, man. And, for somebody to be up there eating eggs when he used to on the live, just chilling before he get ready for practice, to now being on the brink of his superstardom, just looking for that title bout. He's already 2 belts in. You know what I'm saying? He's looking for that world title, and he's very close to getting that. But this is all about Shields and her historic event when she faces Habazin this weekend, because ultimately you got to start factoring her in to the equation when it comes to big names in boxing. A lot of people don't want to hear her talk about she the GWOAT, but if you compare her to other women past time, if you're talking about from the AMs all the way up to the professionals, how will it balance the scales, man? I mean, starting with the gold medals, that's kind of that will heavy her in a lot of ways. I know amateurs don't have a lot to do with it, because I'm the first one to say, like, Lomachenko medals don't matter in the professional. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to talk about, oh, he's a double gold medalist. So I can't be a hypocrite and say, well, goddamn it, Claressa Shields, she got 2 gold medals. We need to factor that in. If we're talking about the GWOAT, all right, the greatest woman of all time, her professional boxing ledger is not that impressive with so little fights when comparable to those, to Riker, Martin, Ali. You know, all those Cecilia Brockers. I mean, look at Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano is up there, quiet as kept. That just goes to show you how women's boxing is just all over the place. 7th division champion. No one really talks about anything. But for what Carissa Shields is able to do in a short amount of ticks to her boxing ledger is amazing. You know, being possibly a 3 division champion in 10 fights. I mean, that's just sick to think about, man. Really, it is. It's a sick accomplishment for somebody going in here making a statement the way she's doing. And it deserves a salute, hands down, point blank. You got to give it to her. No matter what y'all think about her attitude, like I said before, I look at boxers just like I do for those in the military. I've dealt with worse than these fighters. I've dealt with foreign military. I did with foreign leaders. I deal with attitudes of foreign prejudice and racism. Way worse than what you get over here. So, you know, Flint, Michigan, born and raised, you know, native, about to step in here. I say Habazin is in trouble. You know, from looking at her 20-3 record, like Carissa said, I do agree with her that she's not better than Christine Hammer. And Christine Hammer, man, when she went in there, we saw a whole different Carissa Shields than we saw with Hannah Gabriel. That's facts. We saw a whole different type of Carissa Shields than we saw with Hannah Gabriel. Tori Nelson. I can't really talk about Franchon Discern because she was making her debut. Even though she's a champion now, I'm just saying I can't really bring her into the equation. She was making a debut, but yet and still she was a reputable opponent. But when it comes down to it, if it's any way, shape, or form as to how active, how energetic, you know, how sharp, quick, elusive, I'm talking about on the freaking bezel with her movement, landing her shots. I mean, Habazin is in trouble. And you know, Carissa said, you know, both of them have they chinks in the army a little bit when you talk about when is the either one of them have a stoppage. You know, Habazin, if you say, okay, Carissa Shields hasn't had a knockout in 2 years, and then you can say the same for Habazin in a little over a year or whatever, you have to look at how many times they have fought. If someone fight one time in 2017, one time in 2018, one time in 2019, that's very limited. But when it comes to, you know, them saying Carissa Shields haven't had a knockout, well, you know, she made that perfectly clear when it comes down to who she fought. You know what I'm saying? Them fighters really wasn't there to be knocked out. She made a damn solid point. I give her that. I checked the box on that when she's saying she fought Tori Nelson, Hannah Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? She was up here fighting fighters who just wasn't getting stopped, period. Christine Hammer, they wasn't getting stopped. But she did make mention at one point during the fight, they was hurt. I mean, you're not making that up. I mean, that's truth. For real. On the undercard, you know, you have 24-0 Jerome Ennis. He's going in there against Eyubov. Bakhtiar Eyubov, 14-1. Kazakhstan fighter. And of course, we all know what Jerome Ennis is, you know, out of Philly, Pennsylvania. So he's 24-0 undefeated, man. Of course, this is one of those fights where, yeah, he's an opponent. Is he a notable opponent to someone like Jerome Ennis? No. Is Jerome Ennis still building up his label, his brand? Of course. But, you know, he has a lot of people cheering him on, man. You know what I'm saying? He's looking impressive right now. He has a lot of people looking out for him. 24-0 record is pretty impressive to the 14-1 of Eyubov. You know? So that should be interesting, man. I don't think anything less Ennis comes off as a more taller fighter. Of course, he's going to have range advantage. He's going to be much faster than a short, stockier Eyubov. That's just point blank. You know, he's a younger, youthful fighter. So, of course, you know, sometimes it depends on who it is. Like I tell people all the time, boxing doesn't have a template. So when you take this age on some of these fighters, a 33-year-old doesn't fight the same across the board. So I don't know if this 33-year-old is going to be one of those very entertaining, competitive fighters. Vice Ennis, he's 22 years old, man. So he has everything on his side. You know, 22 years old, 24-0 at 22 years old. It's sick. It's crazy. Very, you know, salute to getting it in early. You know what I'm saying? Salute to getting that in early. Check this out right quick. Okay. And then, of course, you have that other fight. It's a championship unification match. I know a lot of you who may not follow boxing all too much, but it's in the super middleweight division. You have Alicia Napoleon Espinosa against Aline Cederos. So you take Espinosa, 12-1. She's a WBA champion, against Aline Cederos, and 7-0. She is the IBF champion. Both of these ladies are in, you know, just on the doorstep of their mid-30s. Alicia is 33. Aline is 34. You know, not too much of a height differential. You know what I'm saying? They pretty much around the same a bit. Both have broad shoulders, you know. Sometimes you get that in women, not too much with Shields. A little bit with Habazin. I don't know what it is though. They doing military presses. I don't know, but this is going to be a good unification bout, man, against Cederos and Espinosa, because you know it's for a title unification in the super middleweight division. So why wouldn't it be important? Someone's going to become the unified champion, and of course, that next opponent may indeed face Carissa Shields somewhere up the line. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere up the line, they may face Carissa Shields. Who knows? But one of these fights that's being talked about, of course, that was mentioned is Carissa Shields potentially fighting Amanda Nunes. Now, I did hear Carissa Shields only mention Amanda Nunes stepping into the boxing ring. All right? But check this out. I know it's a lot of talk. I know it's a lot of freaking tickets. That will sell a person out here in this media because that's what they latch on to. Carissa Shields did say at the end of 2020 that she will indeed step into the MMA arena. If that's the case, I mean, that's good to know. If that's the case with her potentially stepping into the MMA arena, more power to her. You know, more power to her. If she feel that her MMA game is to that point that she's able to step in the cage, cool. But my question is, where is she going to step in the ring? Who she's going to step in the ring with? Because for her to step into the UFC cage on that platform with the limited mixed martial arts skills that she's enveloped over a short period of time, it won't be enough to go in there and do any type of damage to Amanda Nunes, point blank, period. It's not the case. And anyone sitting up here talking about, well, she got a puncher's chance. When it comes to boxing, if by chance the opposition has power and they can either take advantage of their opponent's weaknesses and land a heavy punch, if they have enough power to do so, okay, you got a puncher's chance. But when I'm telling you about fighters who aren't knockout artists, they have to work themselves up to that in boxing. Yeah, a punch may be landed, or punches, to degrade your opponent's rhythm and health, and then work in for the knockout, and then work up to the knockout. Okay, we've seen it over and over again. But when it comes to mixed martial arts, though, when the bell rings, you have a whole entire different suitcase full of cash weapons that you can choose from. You have so many, a variety of lethal disbursement for you to select. It's not just hands. You got to understand what angle they're coming from. How are they going to land that freaking kick, a punch, an elbow? Whether the kick is going to be a low calf kick, a mid thigh kick, rib kick, head kick. Which one are you trying to figure out? And then, you know, for fighters, like I said on the other live, they're not practicing kicks. They're not deadening nerves in their leg. They're staying healthy to be able to move around and everything, to throw those hands, to be agile, nimble. You know what I'm saying? That's what boxers are doing. But when you talk about mixed martial arts, you have to really set yourself up to defend some of the most awkward striking techniques, because every fighter really isn't the same. You know, does that fighter have a wrestling background? Do they have a judo, Muay Thai, kickboxing? Are you going to get the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to get the Heather Hardy, come straight forward, throwing punches, get kicked in the face, continue to come like she the Terminator? Are you going to have another fighter like Amanda Serrano? Like, this ain't the first time the women have tried to come over to mixed martial arts. Amanda Serrano, 7th division champion, she came over here and she looked less than impressive. You know, those hands in the ring didn't transfer over to her skill set and blending that in with kicks and takedowns and everything in the cage. It just wasn't there. I'm not apologizing for it. It wasn't there. I'm being serious. It just wasn't entertaining. Out of the 2 points I just made about Heather Hardy and freaking Serrano, I did see Heather Hardy get kicked, shin kick to the nose, man. And I'm telling you, as a boxer, she's extremely tough, man. I don't know how long she's been training mixed martial arts to a T, but for her to get kicked, take a shin kick to the nose, I mean, it's more personal than you can ever get in introducing a shin kick to the doorstep, to ring that bell. Nose is everywhere, blood is everywhere, and Heather Hardy kept on fighting. Carissa Shields gonna have to understand, you know, if she takes a tune-up or she steps in there with Amanda Nunes, the potential of not being able to throw her hands, being that she is the bigger fighter. You know what I'm saying? She has to understand when she decides to throw her hands, what is next? What's coming next? You know what I'm saying? What is next when you overly commit to a shot and you want to throw it just enough so you can get out the way or move or use your lateral movement? Hey, in mixed martial arts, when you exit, they can land a kick on your way out. You know what I'm saying? It's not just punching out the clinch. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different type of game when you're on the inside, when you draw those hips in together, when you hand fighting. That's tiring. You know, what if she just come in, throw a kick, get Shields to react to it, push up against the cage, and drain her? You know, a lot of that cardio that goes into mixed martial arts, you have to utilize. You have to condition yourself inside the move itself, inside to arena, up against the cage, over and over again, getting off, working off your back off the canvas. All that has to be done in the moment. It's no simulation of doing road work, running a treadmill, getting on the elliptical, stair climber. All those to build up cardio in a way. But when it comes to boxing, you have, you know, 2 sets of weapons that you're working with. That's the left and the right. And then you blend in the mental mindset of someone on how they choose to delegate their offensive attack. That is the strategy. But hearing her say she's going to step in there 2020 in the mixed martial arts arena, it's some soft touches out there. It's some girls out there that she can beat up on. Of course, it's always a soft touch out there to start your MMA career so you can say you 1-0. Of course. But you have to understand who has did it and who didn't get a soft touch. You know what I'm saying? If Conor McGregor came over here to fight Floyd Mayweather, no way would that be considered a soft touch for his first professional boxing match. It was nowhere close. You know what I'm saying? Then and think about Carissa Shields, like I said before, you know, going to hit 3-division champion, right? Why would she even want to go over there with the name and brand and saying she the GWOAT and fight a soft touch? She would definitely have to step to the cage and fight somebody of recognition that has a name over there. Someone special that they want to take a look at. Someone. You know, they just had Michaela Harris, man, win the 155-pound championship. Carissa Shields is just moving down to 154. Could you imagine Carissa Shields stepping in there at Michaela Harris? I mean, could you imagine them being around the same weight, stepping in the cage together? Two notable names, Olympians, stepping in the cage at that weight, 155, because that's the highest the women's division goes. And that's not in the UFC, that's the PFL. The highest women's division in the UFC is 145 featherweight. You know what I'm saying? The men's division goes up to lightweight 155, welterweight 170, middleweight 185, light heavyweight 205, and heavyweight is beyond. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be a crazy fight. Two Olympians going at it. It'll be a tough fight inside the cage for Carissa Shields with somebody with the judo background as Harris. I mean, it'll be very, very tough because she'll try to go in there. And once again, you have 4-ounce gloves on. So you're talking about Carissa Shields taking off heavier gloves, putting on 4-ounce gloves, and throwing with the speed that she has. It would be to her advantage. I'm not sure how her hands will handle it because it's much different punching with less hand protection out of 8-ounce, 10-ounce gloves than you would putting on 4-ounce gloves going in there cracking somebody in the head. It's a lot to freaking learn from mixed martial arts. And if that bout was to take place, man, it'd be very interesting to see how hesitant if Harris would be, because Amanda Nunes, her highest division is 145. I seriously doubt that she can come over to the UFC, Harris, and face Nunes at 145. I just don't see her dropping freaking 10 pounds to do that. So Shields and Nunes fighting at a catch weight, it's not going to be for no championship. It's just going to be more so like an exhibition bout. And if you're talking about going freaking 3 rounds, 5 minutes each, that's going to be tough. I don't see it going the distance. And you know what? You better not even think about having Shields come over here and connect one punch on Nunes and she drops her and then get on top of her and start landing ground and pound punches and stop her just so they can get a rematch. Man, if that happens in women's sport and people buy into it, it will be one of the biggest. I'm telling you, man, it would absolutely set the world on fire in the worst way. People will run and they will break their keyboard in half trying to put thumbnails up here and get on lives and talk about that fight, because it's not something that's naturally. It's not something that's going to be a natural, reasonable result with the amount of times Amanda Nunes has been hit with 4-ounce gloves. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of a hard result to sell to people who's been in the mixed martial arts game for quite some time. There's no way that Amanda's going to get hit by a boxer just because she has 4-ounce gloves on with 1-punch knockout power, and Carissa Shields only has 2 knockouts. You transfer Nunes over to the boxing ring and put on heavier ounces, it's a whole different story, because Carissa Shields' hands are fast. She is an extremely sharp fighter, and Amanda Nunes will indeed have problems in the first 2 rounds. It's just an amazing dynamic, man. It's not too many MMA fighters that you can say that's crossed over to the boxing ring that has did really well. Like, you can't put Conor McGregor in there. Come on, don't do that. Because Floyd carried him for 10 rounds. And then he decided to stop him whenever he felt like it. But I'm talking about a fighter who can, transfer over, lead the mixed martial arts over, and really have a respectable boxing prowess once he steps in the ring. You just don't see that much. If y'all in the building, smash the like button for me. World Combat Sports, smash that like button. We're talking about Carissa Shields going in there for her 3-division championship in 10 fights. She will basically clip defeat by Vasily Lomachenko. Now, of course, a lot of people will have what they want to say about it, as far as competition. But, Vasily Lomachenko doesn't have a honorary, I'm talking about honor grad resume himself. He doesn't have prestige in a lineup himself with that resume. He just don't. And Carissa Shields don't either. But both of them individuals are double gold champions. They're double gold champions, man. That's why the comparison will have weight to it, validity, merit, because both of them are double gold standard Olympians. Both of these individuals came in and opened the gate however they chose. They had their sights set on championship belts, and they went about it in different ways. And of course, we know Lomachenko tried to do it in two fights. Be the first to do it in 2. He was able to tie it in 3, and then you have him being able to become 3-division champion in a short period of time in which he did it. But Carissa Shields will eclipse the amount of fights that Lomachenko was able to do it in if she's able to do it in 10. That's a huge feat. That ain't easy. Seriously, that is not easy when you come to think about it. So I hope y'all tune in for this fight. It's going to be on Showtime, man. I know it's not a huge set of names, but, just a little bit of reaction to the press conference. Habazin, did say to a point that Carissa Shields is not the GWOAT, but she is the greatest bully of all time. You know what I'm saying? Talk is cheap. And this weekend, she's going to knock her out. That's what Habazin said. Now, I don't believe that at all. To be honest, I don't believe it. And a lot of people is going to say, well, we didn't think freaking Kavaliauskas, Mean Machine, to come in here and give Crawford problems, but he did. But we have to take a look at it like, she has 7 knockouts, Carissa Shields 2. But once again, you can't hit what you can't see. And the way she looked in there against Christine Hammer, man, I mean, the blade of the sword couldn't been sharpened any more than it was that fight. Like, we actually saw a different caliber of Shields up in her level of boxing expertise. It was just sharp as hell, man. Like, to see her elusive move her head, take away the Hannah Gabriel doubt that she doesn't have good defense. She's not as attentive as she should be in the ring against fighters, so she leave herself open to be caught. Man, she shut all that to bed. It was absolutely entertaining performance, being that Hannah Gabriel, was able to get the early knockdown with the uppercut, slick right uppercut. And then Carissa Shields getting up and just still coming forward off the leash, dogmatic, tenacious, ferocious, just outworking, breaking down her opponents. And I think that's what's going to happen this weekend. Even though Ivana Habazin has more experience, I just see it coming. That I want to see how she's going to handle this freaking pressure that Shields is going to give her from the opening bell. Seriously, Carissa Shields, her take and her reaction was that, you know, she basically referred to Habazin as dumb of being not that smart as a fighter. And I understand where she's coming from to a point, you know, because she haven't really knocked out anybody with the competition she's had that's considerably lower caliber than what Carissa Shields has been up against, right? And then you take what Carissa Shields is saying as far as her just giving lip service, not being the smartest chick in the game, you know, just saying the usual stuff that goes along with proving that, you know, I'm the greatest woman of all time. You have to do something about it. I just don't think that you're that fighter to prove that. I think she said she was gonna stop her. She wasn't gonna go more than 3 to 6 rounds. I think she said 6 rounds. She wasn't gonna go more than 6 rounds. So it's a lot of suspense to this fight, believe it or not. Both of them was trash talking. And, you know, y'all can't sit up here and really criticize Carissa Shields for doing the same thing Tony Harrison and Jermell Charlo was doing. In men history of press conferences, period. Like when they faced off, Carissa Shields like, you act like you're going to do something. Go ahead. Go ahead. I dare you. You know, that's what Shields is about, man. She talk that trash. She talk it. She walk it. And she's about that life, man. You know, a lot of people say she don't have the best attitude. And in some cases, in boxing, it's not about morals and principles. You know what I'm saying? It ain't all about morals and principles, man. I'm not saying I'm freaking all warm and fuzzy as to the way she acts sometimes, but I don't deal with her on a regular basis. And I'm definitely not going to be judgmental on the way she trash talk her opponent. You know, people are selective in who they choose to scrutinize when it comes to trash talking. And her, you know, Carissa Shields facing off with Habazin and telling her, you act like you want to do something. Step over here and do something then. Y'all better be glad that, you know, this fight means something. We the headliner, because I would have slapped her already. I mean, she's just putting more freaking emphasis, more attention, more eyes on who she is as a brand, who she is as a fighter. She's not to be played with. And for any fighter to step in there with her, they have to have more than just being another above average fighter. Even if they consider you a superstar, to Carissa Shields, you got to prove to me that that star that they putting on you is brighter than mine. You got to prove that shit to me. Prove it. Prove that we both stars, how you shining brighter than me. You got to prove that to her. And if you don't prove it, then you got issues. You got problems to deal with. You better come up with a troubleshooting freaking team, a quick reaction team to see how y'all can figure it out while the fight is going on. Because she's going to bring it, man, for sure. You know, salute to Shields over there doing her thing. You know, you go ahead and get this third division, man, in 10 fights is just commendatory. And I hope the media give her shine without saying, you know, she's an angry black woman. You know what I'm saying? Give her shine for what she's doing in boxing, just like they glorify Vasily Lomachenko, just like they glorify Gennady Golovkin, all these neighboring fighters like Anthony Joshua. Y'all glorify these fighters as being something extremely special because you spoil as to who we have on our home soil. Like we have a nesting bed of rising stars. You know what I'm saying? A nesting bed of world champions, future world champions, rising prospects in the game that's lighting up the freaking lower level regional circuit you know, being on the undercards of some of these big cards that you don't hear about. They out here, y'all. You gotta sit up here and go to these grassroots fights, man. It's some promising diamonds laying in the rough over here. They don't get a lot of shine, but by the time they do reach that point of stardom, I can guarantee you they will remember, or they should remember, those individuals who's really there when they was on the ground floor. You know what I'm saying? Those individuals that was there when they was out here grinding, taking fights for little money. You know what I'm saying? The competition wasn't as quality of opposition than they would like, but it's the route that they had to take. You know what I'm saying? It was the warm-up phase that they had to go through. And now we started from the bottom, now we're here. That's real. But I look forward to seeing, I'm definitely going to be tuning into that fight, paying attention to how it actually goes down, because the reason why I'm saying I'm paying attention, I really want to kind of link up the skill set between Amanda Nunes and Carissa Shields if they was to step in the boxing ring and the cage. That's all. I just feel that if Carissa Shields steps in there in 2020, let it be a name that we all want to see and be like, oh shit, you know, Carissa Shields may be in trouble, or oh shit, oh, Amanda Nunes might be in trouble. You know, we really want to see a compatible name that's going to bring butts to the seats, not some nobody that we haven't heard of that really doesn't have a strong point in their mixed martial arts background. Like, we really don't want to see a BJJ, you know, practitioner come in there and fight Carissa, because stylistically, if they go in for the takedown, they liable to get knocked out before it even happened with 4-ounce gloves from a fighter like Carissa Shields. You know what I'm saying? We want to see a striker versus striker more so we can kind of see, you know, and if her opposition has kickboxing and Muay Thai background, then so be it. But I'm saying I just don't want to see a fighter that's overly emphasized for a ground technician rather than a boxing technician. Because if they try to close distance on Carissa Shields, being that she's an elite boxer, the potential for her to get knocked out is imminent. Absolutely imminent. And that really won't do anything for Carissa Shields to say she went into a mixed martial arts, a MMA bout, and knocked out a fighter who's one-dimensional. You may say to yourself, well, Carissa Shields is going to be one-dimensional. Of course, she's crossing over from boxing. But if you're talking about bringing in a mixed martial artist, then a mixed martial artist, just that. Don't bring in another fighter and put boxer and put 4-ounce gloves on her and say, okay, go in there against Carissa. She's a 3-division champion. That's stupid. You want to get a bona fide, legit mixed martial artist that's not too high level. You know what I'm saying? You don't want someone that's high level, even to say, I wouldn't put a mixed martial artist in there that has Olympian pedigree. You know, more so in judo. You know what I'm saying? Or any freaking discipline outside of boxing. Because when you factor in kicks, when you factor in all those other echelons of priority, when it comes to delegating your offensive strategy, it's going to be crucial for Carissa Shields, you know, being that she's strictly a boxer. You know, I mean, she comes in there and surprises us with some MMA know-how. I mean, I'm talking about some mixed martial arts, natural ability to know when and what to do in these circumstances. She's coming there acting like she knows the A, B, and C of setting traps in mixed martial arts, even if the fight go to the ground, knowing what to do, you know, because if just say most of the time when you get a boxer, right, that boxer will land on his back with their legs closed, and they're not even setting themselves up for open guard or closed guard, right? We're curious to see what Claressa Shields would do once it goes to the ground. If she's going to be able to quickly either sweep, or she's going to be able to work for a dominant position, or she's going to be able to sprawl, effectively. Does she have a solid base to be a boxer? I mean, all that is to be said, man. What's going on, Martin? What's good? What's good? So all that's the case when you're factoring in these females stepping in there, cross-threading disciplines from boxing to MMA. I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. I would definitely, everybody is going to say, well, we want to see Claressa work off her back. That's the first thing they want to say. We already know she can throw hands, but can she check a kick? Can she work off her back? Can she sprawl? Can she, stuff a takedown? Can she transition enough if she's on her back to work for half guard, or if she's able to work to a point of transition to a dominant position? I mean, people want to see that. Does she have any submissions to her arsenal? Does she know how to properly apply a submission? And if she does apply a submission, is it a legit submission? Is it one of those deals where her opponent is allowing her to put her in a sub, in a choke, or whatever the case may be? A whole lot of factors coming into that shit, man. Does she know what grip? It's just so much that goes into seeing somebody crossing over to the boxing ring to mixed martial arts. What they're able to do if they go to the ground. That's all. What is she's going to be able to do if she's in there with a kicker? That's all I got to say about that, man. It should be talk. A lot of boxing segues on here. Is not going to talk too much about her cross thread and fighting Amanda Nunes, because simply they just don't dive enough into mixed martial arts to know how to speak on it. To know about the champ, the one that's the bantamweight champ and the featherweight champ. It's a lot that goes on when you try to get on here and speak on boxing and mixed martial arts. A lot of people say, okay, Amanda Nunes go over there, she'll get her ass beat if she step in the ring with Claressa Shields in the boxing ring. Potentially so. Absolutely. She's the much quicker fighter. But then again, when it comes to mixed martial arts, they say, of course, man. That's mixed martial arts. Claressa Shields don't know any mixed martial arts. Well, we don't know that until we see her step into the cage. We don't know the extent to her level of mixed martial arts training and how she's able to apply it in the heat of battle. That's the main thing about it. How is she able to apply it? Does she even know how to throw a kick? Does she know how to block with her hands, defense of a kick? And if she does block a kick, what is that going to do with her punching power? Because, hey, last time I checked, a shin kick to the forearm, you feel it, especially if you really haven't been taking kicks like that. What is she going to do for that? Is she going to be able to block a head kick? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's so much to think about when it comes to that game over there, man. That's why I salute these 4-ounce warriors over here in mixed martial arts. Just like I salute the boxers. It's both of them in their own jungle warfare. They go out and kill or be killed. They do what they have to do. Different cachet weapons, man. But that's all I got to say about this live. I'm gonna keep it short, quick, and simple. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate everybody who dropped through. Martin said Nunes is a beast. Hey, the Brazilian, I totally agree that Nunes is definitively, I can say this without a doubt, in mixed martial arts at the highest level, I would say to a point that she can call herself in the UFC the greatest woman of all time. The reason why I'm saying that is because mixed martial arts has a platform that has monopolized the game, and that's the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I did a live back here way long time ago, and I was telling people how the UFC is bringing up and building up all these UFC fight labs and schools all over the world because they want people to say you got boxing and then you have the UFC. But what I'm trying to get at for Amanda Nunes, it was one point in time where I looked at Christine Cyborg and I said, well, she's only lost once, and that's when she initially started mixed martial arts. And it was from like a double leg lock. Seriously, it was one of the weirdest submission. But you know, her opponent, if you don't know, her opponent was that female that fought a guy. I forgot her name, man, but she had fought a dude and beat him. I mean, very tough female. But you know, at the time, Christine Cyborg was still green and learning her ground game. And that's why what I say about Carissa Shields, you know, she's gonna be very green at the ground game. But anyway, speaking about Amanda Nunes being the greatest woman of all time, it was, you know, she had more losses on her record than freaking Cyborg. But Cyborg came into the fight with two separate scenarios that really pinches my, you know, optimism a bit. All right. And here they are. Christine Cyborg, in my opinion, being that her multifaceted Muay Thai background, her BJJ championships, you know, her competing in BJJ, and then mixed martial arts outside of the UFC, and then finally transferring over to the UFC. I mean, we remember her memorable bout with Gina Carano over in Strikeforce. We remember that, you know, probably the dirty Cyborg back then, much more bulky, wild, sporadic. But anyway, she was a force to be reckoned with, right? So she comes over here and she finally fights for the belt. She gets the belt, right? We had Jermaine Durandamy that didn't want to fight her. So that left Cyborg having to fight for the vacant. And then she went in there and defended it. She ran in there with the fighter like Amanda Nunes that basically was calling out her countrymen that she didn't want to do. She said, I think I'm the best. You say you're the best, I think you're the best. I mean, I think I'm the best. You think you're the best. Let's get it on. Here's the two layers that I was talking about that's conspiracy to me a little bit. And I don't deal with conspiracy theories, man. But this is how deep it goes for me. Cyborg for a long time believed that the UFC wasn't treating her correctly, especially Dana White. You know, Dana White referred to her as a man. And, you know, the mixed martial arts fan was really being cruel and insensitive about Cyborg. I mean, like, this is a woman at the end of the day, but a lot of these MMA sites, they were just making so many memes about her being a man, right? And she has gone through some transformations since the last time, you know, the early days of her competing. She was much more muscular. And a lot of, if you're looking at it from a male's perspective, we're like, I don't think I would want to, I don't think I would get with that even after happy hour, you know, even after drinking 2 bottles of proper 12 and some Jack Daniels. I don't think I get, you know, that was going on, right? So the first one was that her feelings and thoughts of the UFC not treating her correctly. First and foremost, when she initially tried to come over, they tried to make her drop down to 135. But, you know, she ended up having to come in and catch weight to 140. Found out that it's no way that she can drop down to 135 to face Ronda Rousey, which what Holly Holmes did to Ronda Rousey was pretty much what Cyborg would have did to Ronda Rousey. But I think it would have been in much brutal fashion. And matter of fact, I would say it would have been in much brutal fashion because Cyborg coming at Ronda Rousey, not having the hips to sit up here and just toss Cyborg to the ground the way she would do every other fighter, it would have made for an interesting first round, okay? Because we all know Cyborg would have been full blast. So with the criticism she was receiving, the insults, all the obscenities, saying that she was a man, almost like a transgender, all that. And then you factor in the second one. The second one was if Cyborg remains champion to a point. The UFC has total control on everything that goes on. Like, she really didn't want to be in the UFC any longer. She had felt like they wasn't treating her correctly. It was no need for her to continue to fight in the organization that she had such a degraded relationship with one of the head, people she have to answer to, her boss, so to speak. So her heading ahead to a championship, she might have potentially went reckless not to retain the title, because she didn't want that canopy over her head, that the UFC would have had that control over her, and she wouldn't have been promoted correctly. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have had her as the face like they did Ronda Rousey. There was no way Christine Cyborg would have ever been the face of the UFC in the women's division like Ronda Rousey. There's no way. They just wouldn't have pushed her like that. Ronda Rousey had the it factor, her Olympian status. She looked fairly attractive, and she was a bad chick when it came to freaking her judo throws, her armbar submissions. And she was a bad chick until she ended up getting exposed by a better boxer. And Holly Holmes, 18-time champion, right? But that's two layers, I say, with Christine Cyborg. The way she felt about the words the insults that was handed down to her, and then her going in there fighting reckless against Nunes and getting knocked out in the first round. I just think Christine Cyborg, leading up to that fight, had fought smarter fights than that. She had fought smarter fights, but every time she was getting dropped, she kept coming, and she kept coming. She has since moved on from being that type of fighter. She even spoke on it. For her to get up in the line of fire as Amanda Nunes and continue to try to land punches and getting dropped, she wasn't trying to win. Now she just signed a freaking contract outside of the UFC with people who totally probably understand and respect her much more than she ever would have got in the UFC. Hey, that's just my two layers of optimism when it comes to Cyborg remaining the featherweight champion. That's all. Those insults pierced her heart, hurt her, because she is a woman. But hearing Dana White say what he said on the platform as he did, and then all these mixed martial arts groups claiming to be all about the sport, just putting all these memes up, just like, they always try to look at a female that looks a little bit overstructured, muscular, physically, aesthetic wise. They kind of look a little bit over domineering, so to speak. Muscle, wide shoulders, broad cheekbones. And that's what Cyborg had to go through. And then to top it off, the contract as a champion meant that the UFC will continue to have control over everything that she has going on. So it's not really like that she would be up here making her own choices on who she was choosing to fight. And of course, on the way out the door, they was basically trying to say Cyborg didn't want to fight with Nunes again, because just what I just mentioned, if she would have went in there and rematched Amanda Nunes and won, the UFC would have had total control in everything she was doing again, and they really wasn't trying to move her like that. I think Dana White was actually happy that Cyborg lost the title and that she can move on, because they had a very abrasive, disrespectful, contentious relationship, especially how they communicated with one another. Yes, that's the story, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I think right now her signing the contract outside of the UFC will benefit her well. And I look forward to her going in there and fighting for that title. From what I understand, she's going to fight for a title. And that's going to be very interesting. I would say this: if Cyborg goes over there and she faces adversity, then it comes down to a point where is the miles and wear and tear on her body of being in all those fights, all those battles, wearing down on her. With her fight with Joanna, um, what's her name? Mordina. I forgot the tall Muay Thai striker that really lit up Cyborg. I'm talking about, oh my God, her knees. She's a tall striker. She was able to land some brutal knees in a bout. I believe she dropped Cyborg maybe 1 or 2 times in that fight. But the wear and tear that Cyborg has on her body structure and the years that she's invested, is it finally catching up with her? We'll see. If she goes over here and catches somewhat, not a beat down, but she catches somewhat like a easy fight gone wrong, a fighter that she's supposed to be in there for a championship but not on her level, then we really gonna have to kind of squint an eye and say, what the hell going on? Is Cyborg degrading? You know, if she's coming to the end of her career, if she's close to hanging them up, or what? You know what I'm saying? Martin, if you're talking about the Muay Thai fight, it wasn't Holly Holmes. I'm talking about the Muay Thai fight she had with I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now who it is. Urena Bars. That's who it was. Urena Bars in Lion Fight. You know, Urena Bars, man, she's crucial. She's the truth. She is the absolute truth in that 4-corner arena. And her and you know, Cyborg had a very entertaining fight. And if you take a look at that fight, you'll see what I'm talking about. Urena Bars is absolutely a tyrant when it came to her height and the knees that she landed on Cyborg when Cyborg was trying to come in there and pressure her and overwhelm her with punches. Oh my God, she knows how to use her range well, land those elbows, those knees to the chest cavity, sternum, to the midsection, and then you know she would kind of get Cyborg used to certain type of knees, and then she'll land that knee up top. Right when freaking Cyborg was coming inside. Man, she's a beast, man. Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that. Salute to you. You know, try to do what I do. Well, you know, the one thing that's a great outcome to the mixed martial arts game and boxing, the blend of getting on here on social media and talking about boxing and MMA. The fans don't too much like cross threading because you either have the true just straight boxing and then you have the MMA. But when it comes to mixed martial arts, the whole entire audience is different. You hear the guys who talk about mixed martial arts has a much more different audience than the ones of boxing, even though they're still supporting combat sports. Both are combat sports, of course, with different equipment, different rules, different regulations, different set of rounds, all of that, different technique. The whole entire structure is different. But when it comes to the viewing audience that's tuning in to see someone combat one another, it's still combat sports, man. It's still combat sports. Real talk. It's still freaking combat sports. And I don't know why the audience differs so much when it comes to these channels, because you get someone that's not all the way boxing. You get the boxing fans that won't even freaking come over and have a boxing dialogue when you talking about boxing. And then the mixed martial arts, they the same way. Like, oh, well, he talk about boxing too. So he talking about mixed martial arts right now. they would really have to go back and forth, man, and jump in and out of the lives and hear you talking about certain events in mixed martial arts for them to really come a supporter. And that will come with time. It's all good, man. It's all good, y'all. It is all good. But I will leave you with this on the mixed martial arts standpoint, is that Yoel Romero and Israel Adesanya is completed. It is done, kaput, over. Signed, seal, ink is dried. And man, oh man, I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at this fight with Israel Adesanya, the current middleweight champion, going in there against a guy who fought for the middleweight championship twice, and some say he won the rematch but wasn't given the nod. Okay, Yoel Romero, man, is a freak of nature, a specimen in itself. Cuban bred, you know, one of those freakish, explosive athletes. You look at his fight with with Luke Campbell. Oh my God. Like, you want to feel sorry for Luke Campbell because it just found out that his chin was packed with wet toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? He had a styrofoam chin, period. But yet you look at how he was able to land that flying knee against Chris Weidman. The same Chris Weidman who had his highest peak of recognition when he was able to defeat Anderson Silva. I mean, come on, man. Come on, bro. Like, knocking out Anderson Silva, checking a kick. I mean, that was his highest point, really. He was on the roll. But Yoel Romero was supposed to be the guy that finally get that championship berth. And he wasn't able to do it. Now he's stepping in there with a hungry young lion, Israel Adesanya, who's a former kickboxer with a respectable record, bravado, unlimited. His cup runneth over on confidence. The same thing with Yoel Romero. If you've never seen Yoel Romero, being that the UFC is doing away with these, but if you've ever seen an open workout from Yoel Romero, I'm serious, you will be like, God damn, this dude is blessed. He is a genetic freak. He is blessed with athleticism above and beyond. Had one of the best open workouts I ever seen, period. So if you take Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero, man, the one factor that I have to play in to both of them is cardio. You know what I'm saying? The next factor is power. I truly believe Yoel Romero has more power than Israel Adesanya. But then you have to factor in how Adesanya uses his kicks as rangefinders. Like Israel Adesanya has that John Jones-esque rangefinders when he put his hand out there or when he gives you those long kicks. I mean, he's very proper with landing his strikes, man. He's very educated on how to use his height and distance. Martin said, is there someone right now you can see beating Khabib? You know how they say, that's a good question, you know how they say sometimes when a fighter gets a second chance, you know, like I can say Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, it took him 2 years to come back and defeat Demetrius Johnson, right? He had to go through many other high level, you know, on that level, okay, because he lost to two of the best. I think he lost to Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson. But it took him about 2 years to get back in the chute, to stand across the cage and win that title at flyweight. You look at Khabib Nurmagomedov. No one has really came close to being a guy that say, okay, well, who can come back and face Khabib Nurmagomedov other than Conor McGregor? Even though it's going to be some people out there that are saying, well, you go back to this fight, we think so-and-so was good at this and good at that. Conor McGregor having the opportunity to study, work on his takedown defense, man. It may allow him to go and have a much more competitive fight, with Khabib, being he was able to, for a what we looking at? 30 seconds. he had about 30 seconds where he was trying to counter Khabib's takedown, and he did fairly well for somebody with Khabib's pressure and everything. Like for a moment, you know, he was able to balance it out without being taken down immediately. I was impressed. Khabib was continuing to work. He had the single leg, and Conor, I believe, had the he was over Khabib's left shoulder, and he had his ankle, and he was basically trying to stall Khabib out to work for a better position. But after that, the way Khabib pushed him up against the cage and scooped up his legs, I'm saying to myself, if Conor had the time to study Khabib, if he had the opportunity to have somebody in there that has a Sambo background, would he be able to go 5 rounds, and will the results be any better? You know what I'm saying? Because right now, people are looking at the Tony Ferguson fight as him being crazy enough to give Khabib a good showing. And the only thing I say about Tony Ferguson is his strongest point really for Tony Ferguson is his dynamic and being very awkward when it comes to landing those unique strikes of his elbows are slicing, his punches, being able to stand in the pocket and not worry about being taken down, because Tony Ferguson ground game is pretty solid. That is the one person that they saying right now that hasn't lost in a long freaking time. Maybe Khabib's toughest test. But my only point is Tony Ferguson also take a lot of punishment. If you look at back at the fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, Conor didn't take a lot of punishment. Not like Michael Johnson did, not like Edson Barbosa. I'm talking about Conor McGregor. When he was up against the cage, Khabib really wasn't working tremendously like a well-oiled machine. Like, you know, you're pressing the gas on the Hemi truck. And he was just gassing through Conor with his punches. You didn't see that. He was able to take advantage. He was able to knock Conor down, take him up against the cage, you know, work his magic, just wear him down on the cage, land some shots here and there. But ultimately, Conor did fairly well with restricting the punch output and his receptive damage that a lot of other fighters was able to receive. So you got two parts here, like always. Tony Ferguson, to answer your question, Martin, Tony Ferguson is supposed to be one of the toughest fighters for Khabib to step in there with right now, because he's so weird. Like, he has this very eccentric fighting style that everybody think he has. You know what I'm saying? What he was able to go in there and do against Pettis and so forth. And then you have Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, in my opinion, is a bit more dangerous on the feet. Like, his wrestling cannot match up with Khabib's Sambo. You're talking about the Sambo world champion. It can't match up with it. But the one thing we learned about Khabib, he knew not to throw the wrong power to get countered by Conor's left hand. He knew that going in there. Like, Conor's left hand is you have to respect it, because he knows how to counter. You can tell he works the wide stance a lot with that counter. You can tell that's one of his go-tos, you know, knocking out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds and also hurting freaking Eddie Alvarez with it. So to answer your question, I don't see anyone right now that seals the deal with me in beating Khabib Nurmagomedov. I just don't see it, man. Like, when I look at Tony Ferguson, I'm like, okay, Tony Ferguson, can you get off the ground? Can you make it back to your feet? Can you land damage? I know he can do some damage in odd positions, but the way Khabib Nurmagomedov scoops the legs ties his opponents down, take their base away, and everything you have left, just say he loves basically loading up on his opponent's right side. So you're trying to basically post your right hand to the canvas to stop from being taken down to your back. So what Khabib does, he continues to climb the ladder, and he will go over there and grab that right wrist. You know what I'm saying? He loads up on the right wrist. He'll try to grab that right wrist, pull it out, to take his opponents to their back. If he's not able to get his opponents down to their back that way, he would just punch you in the face and make you defend. And then in the process, he'll pull your hips out and get you on the back. Either way you want it, Khabib is going to do it. But my point is, Tony Ferguson is that fighter who can land some crazy elbows from the bottom, some crazy punches. He's did it before. But him defeating Khabib Nurmagomedov, I don't see it. I think Khabib is just that type of fighter who can negate Tony Ferguson's onslaught, because you're going to have to do a lot more than working off your back. The big question is, who can take Khabib and put him on his back and keep him there? What fighter is out there? It ain't going to be Conor McGregor. Who and what fighter in that division, lightweight division, is going to be able to put Khabib Nurmagomedov on the canvas, or freaking get him hurt on his feet, take him down, or, you know, do enough damage to have the fight stop, or to basically open up a cut, or whatever the case? Who's the fighter? That's the question. Who is that fighter that's out there? Who's the equal? That question still remains open. You know what I'm saying? I do want to touch bases on the lightweight division ranking that's out here and the potential good matchups that will happen. You know, some of the fighters you may or may not know, but I want to touch bases on some of the rankings in that particular division. Because it's crazy how it links up, right? Okay, let me give you the breakdown, people. All right, this is what I do. You have Tony Ferguson that's due to face Khabib Nurmagomedov next. All right, Dustin Poirier. Listen, Dustin Poirier attempted. He attempted, and he came up short. He was subbed out just like Conor McGregor was. You know, he had the bout with Max Holloway, who moved up from featherweight, and they had their bout. Dustin Poirier was just too big in the end. You know, he ended up earning the win, sent Max Holloway back down to featherweight, and he just recently had his title taken by Alex Volkanovski. All right, so you look at the freaking lightweight division, Dustin Poirier, scratch him out. The one main concern for me with Khabib Nurmagomedov, the one fighter that's not getting all the way the love he deserves right now, is Justin Highlight Gaethje. Justin Highlight freaking Gaethje. When I tell you all, Justin Gaethje, I watched him when he was over in the neighboring organization. The performances Justin Gaethje used to put on was absolutely what you call hooking up. You know, when I used to run bikes, man, you know, hooking up the spray through the swing, or however you felt that, man, you know, whatever shots you was running that day out the bottle. Justin Gaethje is one of those fighters that runs off NOS, man. He looks like he's having two tubes hooked up to both lungs, and he's gassed up the entire time when he starts to fight. I think, hands down, Justin Gaethje facing Khabib Nurmagomedov would be an extremely tough fight. It would be tougher than Dustin Poirier. It would be tougher than Tony Ferguson. I just think it'll be a very entertaining fight, man. You know, they have Conor McGregor sitting in 4th on the ranking standard in lightweight division. Now, from everybody below Conor McGregor, you have Donald Cerrone, who's fighting Conor McGregor coming up. You have 6 Paul Felder, 7 Dan Hooker, and I'm just going in the top 10. 8 Kevin Lee, 9 Alaquinta, and 10 Edson Barbosa. Edson Barbosa has already faced Khabib, and he took a beating. He took an absolute beating. Period. So the only one out of the top 5 that I truly want to see face Khabib that may give him a good challenge, hold him honest, account of his skills at lightweight as an undefeated champion, would be Justin Gaethje. Real talk. Even with Conor McGregor coming in there a second time, being subbed out in 4 rounds, I still have to look at it this way, people. Conor McGregor is fighting at a weight which is delirious to me. Like, Conor McGregor is about to fight at welterweight, y'all. Conor McGregor stepping up to welterweight and then dropping weight back down to lightweight. No. You just can't do that with a superior high level athlete as Khabib. You can't say, well, I'm gonna go up to 170 and I'm gonna sit up here and have a bout with Donald Cerrone, and then I'm gonna come back down to 155 and fight Khabib, because Khabib is walking around at the weight that he's fighting at, so he's not going through a strenuous weight cut. But I can tell you, Justin Gaethje, outside of the old Jose Aldo, Justin Gaethje has some lethal, crucial leg kicks. Man, he's one of the only fighters that can stand in the clinch, separate just enough to the point where he can land a leg kick as if he was at distance. That's Justin Gaethje, man. He has some very poignant leg kicks that breaks down his opponents. But his Achilles, man, his freaking nail to the freaking back of the skull is he just takes too much freaking punishment to give punishment. He's been that way his entire rise in the professional ranks. That is why he had those losses. He took too much freaking punishment. He was broken down, and Gaethje would tell you straight up, you know, I'm the highlight. That's what I do. When he wins his fights and he does that layout off the top, well, they don't let him do it in the UFC too much. But between him and Eddie Alvarez, hey, who has the best backflip layout? He's a warrior, man. And I can tell you like this, Khabib is not going to stand in the center of the octagon and let you kick him over and over again to the point where you're saying, okay, like any smart mixed martial arts strategist, they say, okay, kick his legs enough. He's not going to have enough, you know, he's not going to have that power, or he's not going to be as quick as he need to shoot in for a takedown, which is true if he's able to land those kicks. Okay, over and over again, which is true. We've seen it happen over and over again. All right. But we're talking about Khabib, whose closing speed for a single double is just amazing. Oh, man, it's off the charts. The tenacity that he has to go in, sometimes it's predictable, but a lot of times you're like, shit, man, Khabib, nobody can stop that takedown. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Like, Tony Ferguson is going to make it a good fight. Expect blood in that fight, especially if Khabib get him down early and able to land punches, because Tony is the kind of person that don't defend too much, not to receive damage. He don't defend to the point where he's trying to deliver damage. If you put Tony Ferguson on his back, he's going to show you that I can fight off my back. I can land some significant strikes off my back. He's not going to be trying to post up from being taken down. He's probably going to welcome it a little bit and then try to show Khabib that I can F you up off my back. And then if I catch you the right way, I can then sink in a submission. I can possibly put you in a triangle, because we all know Khabib liked the top position. So if you talk about him in the top position, it sets him up for a lot. I mean, I don't see a sambo practitioner like Khabib getting swept very easily, but I can tell you that the way he stack up on his opponents, if Tony Ferguson is extremely smart, he can catch him in a submission from the bottom. I don't know if it'll be from an armbar, triangle, whatever the case. It'll be tough. And then with Conor McGregor, I hope Conor McGregor got the Cowboy Cerrone. I hope he faces Jorge Masvidal. That'll just exclude any fight with him and Khabib Nurmagomedov happening in 2020, because really the fans don't want to see Khabib and Conor McGregor right now. Not with Conor McGregor moving up to 170, and then potentially, he should predictable. The predictability, the odds has him defeating Cowboy, right? And then say he's fighting for a big money bout with Jorge Masvidal. That's really going to be the money fight for Conor again. If Conor McGregor can go in here and even squeak out a win against Jorge Masvidal, he's back on top. And we don't know what would happen if Conor McGregor defeats Gamebred and takes away his title shot, because that's the whole interest right now, the entire interest. Gamebred is trying to make as much money as possible and potentially fight for the title against Kamaru Usman if he's still the champion. So for Conor McGregor to come into the equation for welterweight showcase, make a good account of himself, get back in the highlight like he was before when he was 2-division champion, it'll be very interesting to watch. But that's all I'm saying on that. That's all I got to say on that. But I'm really looking forward to Israel Adesanya, Yoel Romero. Really, because just like Conor McGregor beating Cowboy Cerrone, right, and setting himself up for a fight with Jorge Masvidal, you also have to look at Israel Adesanya. Okay, him fighting Yoel Romero. He defeats Yoel Romero. Then the whole landscape is open right now. But I'm talking about now the freaking savages decide to come out. The one savage that's out there that would do big numbers in the UFC. And that is freaking Israel Adesanya facing John Bones Jones. If Israel is able to go over here, and if he knocks out Yoel Romero, if he's able to stop Yoel Romero, let me tell you, I'm pretty sure Dana White can say, well, I want to do a title match. I want to do a title match because, we got Paulo Costa out there, right? I want to do a title match with Paulo Costa. But people have to understand how tough Paulo Costa look against Uriah Hall, who's known for faltering under pressure. Okay? We know that. And then you got Cannonier, who's coming up through the ranks. But right now is Yoel Romero that's sitting in third in the rankings. If Israel Adesanya closes out Yoel Romero, it's going to be bigger than him and Paulo Costa, because a lot of people don't know Costa. They know Romero. They don't know Costa. Even though he had a big win over Uriah Hall, he's still that guy who kind of falters under pressure and under the heat of the moment sometime in the big fights. So now you look at it like this. Will Dana White said, after the Yoel Romero, let's try to make the John Jones fight. I believe Israel Adesanya and John Jones potentially will be the highest fight ever in the UFC. Ever. Because stylistically, they really mirror up nicely. The reflection of both of these individuals and the way they go about dispersing their opponents, is somewhat similar. And that's without Windex. These two are very lethal long-range strikers. They can pretty much give you a variety of technique on the feet. And then, understandably so, they allow the opponents to understand that if it goes to the ground, I'm good there too. Now, when it comes to advantages between these two, I still give John Jones the striking advantage on the feet with much more of a selective arsenal to delegate towards Israel Adesanya. I believe John Jones on the ground, his skill set is much more advanced and high level than Israel. Now, to negate the takedowns and everything, we've seen John Jones in the fight with Thiago Santos. And the guy was hurt, but John Jones didn't go for a takedown. We saw him in there with Anthony Smith, who he went 5 rounds with. And the fight just as well could have been called just like Matt Hamill. You know, John Jones landed an illegal knee that he could have lost his belt for a second time due to DQ. But being the man Anthony Smith was, he said, no, I'm not going to take the belt like that, man. A lot of people saying, Anthony Smith, you stupid. You should have took that belt so you could say you was a freaking champion. But unfortunately, in the mixed martial arts family, if Anthony Smith would have took that belt, it would have been almost like him burning the flag. I'm serious. They wouldn't have respected that man. They wouldn't have respected him. So we have once again, we have a pair of fights that's coming up that's going to determine the collision. You have Israel Adesanya facing Yoel Romero. That's a big deal. And then, you know, you have John Jones facing Dominique Reyes. Okay? Lightweight division, DC will probably never fight John Jones again. You know what I'm saying? Of course, after his stock is dropped from being stopped by Stipe Miocic at heavyweight. So that was potential big super fight. And then you have Anthony Smith, who he's went 5 rounds with, he defeated. So the next in line is Dominique Reyes. And we're all curious to see how John Jones do against Dominique Reyes. If he's able to go in there and defeat Dominique Reyes, what in between both of these fights after, if both of them earn victories, then guess what? Dana White may indeed say, let's make the fight right here, right now. That's what I like about Dana White. He will make some super fight. He'll make some good fights, some mega fights now. It's not so much like boxing where, you know, you might never see the best fight the best because of the collective organization of sanctioned bodies. But in the UFC, we all know that structure is very limited. You know, we have an interim sometime and we have what's called the super. That's all you get. We don't have multi-organizations in the UFC. That's what you get. Not until we just seen the BMF. The BMF has no credibility whatsoever, just bragging rights, but it has nothing to do with the world title. Nothing. So look for those 2 fights right there. Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. Let's see how that pops off, see how that goes down. Who is the victor? If Israel Adesanya looks impressive, John Jones goes in here and gets Dominique Reyes. Get that out the way because Dominique Reyes, man, he's hungry. But look, that's the same thing when they were saying about your boy Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker was supposed to be the next John Jones equalizer. And look what happened to him. Look what happened to Johnny Walker. First of all, he gets injured after doing his freaking post-fight freaking centipede, worm, whatever. And then he goes in there and gets stopped in his last fight. Just like Volkan Ozdemir. Daniel Cormier put a halt to Volkan Ozdemir reign. And, you know, Glover Teixeira, he's been around, but he's been stopped. You know, Alexander Gustafsson, John Jones fought him twice already. Went 5 rounds with him in the first bout and then stopped him in 2 rounds. And keep your eye out in the light heavyweight division for Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz is the one that knocked out freaking Luke Rockhold. And then he just came in there and won his last fight in dominating fashion. No, I'm not sure if he won his last fight. I'm not sure. He might have fought Corey Anderson. I'm not sure. I have to check on that. Let me check on that because I have to check into some right quick, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because I think Blachowicz may have ran into some hands his last fight that he wasn't expecting. And I'm going to be honest. You know what? Let me just go this place. Let me look this up. I was right. Okay. I knew it was something going on between Corey Anderson and Jan Blachowicz. They have a fight coming up February 15th. So Corey Anderson was the one that shut down Johnny Walker. I knew it was some relation there, some freaking connection. So Corey Anderson shut down Johnny Walker in dominating fashion in round 1. I was shocked looking at the fight. I linked Blachowicz to Corey Anderson because I knew they had some type of connection coming up. There do the fight. February 15th. UFC on ESPN Plus. So you have Corey Anderson who's 13-4, and then Juan Blachowicz is 25-8. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was, man. But y'all, stay attentive to those 3 layers of fight right there. All right. Y'all stay attentive to that. I would say stay attentive to Khabib Nurmagomedov, Tony Ferguson. I'm not going to mention Conor McGregor, Cowboy Cerrone, and Jorge Masvidal. It's not even really important to what we're talking about. We're really talking about the highest tier mega fights that can happen at the top of the food chain. And right now, of course, those of you that follow the sport, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson has been canceled in 2018, 17, 16, and 15, 4 other times. So this is the 5th bout for them to step into the cage. Leave the bed right there. Then take it over to Israel Adesanya. Of course, his rise, him defeating Robert Whittaker. Now he's stepping in there with a guy who's been in the championship. This will be his 3rd time, Yoel Romero. One thing about Yoel Romero, and one thing we see in boxing as media, is that you can't sit up here and criticize what Terrence Crawford and all them doing over social media talking trash because it makes fights. And that's exactly how this fight was made. Trash talking started to begin betwixt Adesanya and Yoel Romero. And of course, Romero responded. And we're talking about the Romero who just coming off a loss with Robert Whittaker. You know what I'm saying? Before Robert Whittaker stepped in there for Israel Adesanya and so forth. So we're looking at Yoel Romero getting a 3rd chance, 4th chance, however you want to call it, to get this belt. Shit. He got to go get this belt this time. He has to go in there and get within range of that long-range sniper in Adesanya. He has to. I don't think Adesanya has the most, solid beard because he did face adversity, in his fights before, with Kevin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker. But all we can do is just wait and see what happens with an explosive fighter like Romero. Will Romero's activity hinder him again with a fighter like Adesanya, who can really apply the pressure and keep his distance well against a powerful striker like Yoel Romero? Hold on, y'all. Yeah, but that's all I got from right now, man. I have some writers hitting me up, and be on the lookout for John Jones you know, Dominic Reyes. And if both him and Israel Adesanya, potentially these two heavyweight, I mean, middleweight and light heavyweight will indeed link up for a mega fight. And like I said, you heard it here. If John Jones and Israel Adesanya fight sometimes in 2020, it will be the biggest fight ever in the UFC, period, hands down. So for all of you watching, I appreciate it. Salute to you. Thank you for tuning in. World Combat Sports. Follow me on all social media. Turn up and tune in. Subscribe to the channel, the YouTube. You know, I'm over 4,000. You know, we going to the next. We're going to that 5 to 6, on up to 10. I appreciate y'all support. Until next time, salute to you.